Hey guys, so you ready for it? Today's October 27th, 2024, midnight on the dot. I feel bad for Democrat candidates, and I'm going to explain why. Because I find this actually quite interesting. I was talking to James back and forth about stuff, and this concept came up, and I'm like, I'm going to do a video on it. Him and I were watching the Joe Rogan podcast with Trump that happened the other day. And after the podcast, James had mentioned that Harris, or Harris's campaign, whatever, turned Joe Rogan down. And not surprising, of course. But James said that, she's a coward for doing that. And so I basically responded with, well, there's no upside to her doing it, for one. Two, she blew the Fox News interview with Bret Baier. I mean, really bad. Did terrible job. So that alone, sitting in front of Bret Baier is an excellent journalist, and is a very serious dude, asks very legitimate questions, is not a hysterical person or anything like that. He's very calm. He's good at his job. And if she can't handle that, she definitely won't be able to handle Joe Rogan, who curses and is similar to my personality, if you will, if I were to have someone in fucking front of me. So she wouldn't be able to handle that. And she wouldn't be able to even answer questions from him because she's terrible at it, but she has no policies. So he'd have to ask her, what would you do different than Biden, which she's been asked twice, and the answer is nothing. I would do nothing different. And he would just have the other questions he'd have to ask her are, what are you going to do about this? Or, Trump says he's going to do this. What are you going to do about this? Because she hasn't put anything forward. So besides her being bad and it turning into a terrible interview, she can't go on Joe Rogan because, and this is why I feel bad for Democrat candidates, her base would have a stroke if she went on Joe Rogan. They didn't like the fact she went on Fox News. But if she went on Joe Rogan, they'd lose their minds. Okay, let me say again. This is why I feel bad for Democrat candidates. Supporters of Democrats, us, the public, Americans, people who support Democrats are so emotional. Their fifis are the first thing that they think with. They rarely use their brains anyway, and they're highly brain damaged. And I think to this point, if you're a hardcore Democrat, you're long gone. There's no rewiring of your brain. The Democrat Party has changed. The Democrat Party is not the party of your parents by any means. So, beside the point, those supporters' feelings are what matter most. It's not even about policy. It's not even about what's happening in their own homes. It's about extreme ideas and their feelings. So running as a Democrat candidate, you have to be extremely careful with the decisions you make because it will upset their fifis, your supporters and your base, to a point where they will do what they did in Michigan during the 2022 midterms, which was voted uncommitted for for that position. Okay, so basically they voted for nobody. They went to the polls, showed that they were willing to vote, but voted uncommitted because they were pissed off. So they voted with their feelings. Okay, so being a Democrat candidate has to be exhausting, absolutely exhausting. They have to think through who they're going to go for through an interview. They can't go through this person because it will upset their base that they even did it. Even if they did it well, they'd be upset. They can't say certain things that they used to or even might, agree with, that's against their base, because they will flip out. Democrats supporters get so fucking upset when a Democrat candidate does something they don't like. And that is why TikTok, X, even YouTube have these selfie videos of these melting down, blue-haired, piercings everywhere, tattooed idiots crying that go viral because they're so dumb. That's their base. That is their base. Now, so that's got to be exhausting. Being a Democrat candidate has to be fucking exhausting. I can't imagine it. If I was a Democrat and I was actually running for something, which would never happen, to be a Democrat, I don't think I could even bother to do it. Just because I don't give a shit about your fucking your personality. I don't care about your feelings. I don't care about anything. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to do it. I'm all about policy, and I'm all about you can do it. Like, for example, that's why I feel bad about Democrats candidates, period. So I'm going to go back to Trump for a second here, but I'm going off topic for a minute here. For example, Trump said no tax on tips and no tax on overtime and no tax on Social Security is what he's mentioned. Harris picked up the no tax on tips, obviously. Beside the point, that particular policy, although I agree with it, has to go through Congress. So I actually dismiss that policy. It's neat. It's nice. It's a shooting for the stars, but that would be very difficult to get through Congress, even if you had both chambers, because the Senate's, I don't know if the Senate will ever be a supermajority again in my lifetime. It was once in my lifetime. So you'll need Democrats to follow, and that could potentially, be a bipartisan issue, but still, it's a congressional issue. So those types of things, when a candidate mentions something that has to go through Congress, I'm like, oh, cool, that's an initiative they might try and do. But Congress has to do it. So I'm kind of like, okay, cool, neat, you have that idea. I want things to come out of candidates' mouths that they can actually do, either through executive order, through agencies, through proclamations, through moving money around, through the military, things that they literally can control. Like how he's talking about what he'll do geopolitically, what he's talking about with the border wall, things he can do with the border, okay, things he can do with deporting illegals, things he can do with using the agencies. Hopefully he does bring on RFK Jr. regarding food type stuff, things with big pharma, all using the agencies to do good things rather than bad things. Cutting off regulations like he did in the first administration he was. For every regulation there was, 2 had to go away. So he was cutting back regulations left and right. I really pay attention to those types of things. Him putting tariffs on things. Him drilling, opening up the Keystone Pipeline, which will affect the whole economy in many different ways. Not just gas prices, but possibly product prices. I mean, stuff that's truly going to affect my life that he can accomplish on his own or with a government agencies, period. Those things I key in on. Anything that is an idea that needs to go through Congress is very difficult for me to give a shit about. So the end of that. But on the other hand, regarding Harris having to think through who she's going to go through an interview with that her Democrat supporters won't cry over. Trump, on the other hand, can go anywhere because Republicans don't care where he ends up, or really any Republican candidate ends up. Who they're in front of, what town hall they do, what network they go on, whatever rally is wherever. Genuinely, Republicans are logical, policy-driven, and don't give a damn about their feelings on what he may say or where he shows up. I can't think of one in my life, or probably any of you, who give a damn if Trump goes on CNN or MSNBC. Okay? It would be brilliant for Trump to go on either one of those networks on a live show, especially town hall with witnesses. It would be brilliant. They're never, ever, ever, ever going to invite Trump to do something like that. But if given the offer, yes, he should take it. If he's ever given an offer to go anywhere, especially a controversial, retarded, liberal network or podcaster or anything, he should take the opportunity to do it. And he has. I can't think of one place, one network, one person, whatever, that he has said no to. Harris has said no to Fox forever. During her Senate time in the Senate, while she was a senator, during her presidential run the first time where she ditched out on Iowa, during this entire administration as she's been a VP, and during her entire candidacy until recently, after she did her terrible interviews on the liberal networks, she finally agreed to go on Fox News. But until all that went through first, it took her that long to get on Fox News. She's turned down multiple people who have asked her for interviews, and now she's turned down Joe Rogan. And like I told James, I get it. Besides the fact she's an idiot, besides the fact she laughs, besides the fact she doesn't know her policy, besides the fact she can't answer a question, besides the fact she's just awkward, besides the fact that she's just, as Trump said in Joe Rogan's interview, low IQ. I mean, that chick's really stupid. I mean, she's really shown her true colors of how dumb she really is, which is so shocking to me because she was so different in the Senate. And I'll say that to the day I die. That woman, something broke Kamala Harris's brain January 20th, 2021. I don't know what the fuck happened to that bitch, but her brain fell the fuck out and she can't find it. Her head is empty. So that was the point of this video, is I feel bad for Democrat candidates because of their supporters. Democrat supporters are nuts. They are so crazy to the left these days. I don't even want to even say to the left. It's like, what is the left anymore? It's like the right is logical, policy, America first, law and order, all that shit. What the fuck's the left? The left is crazy. The left is open borders. The left is like transitioning, transgenders. The left is just what else is it? No policing, no prisons, ditching law enforcement, changing up the Middle East, getting rid of Israel. They're even for war now. I mean, which used to be the neocons in the Republican Party. Now the Democrats are for war now. They claim they're not, but they're funding it in Ukraine 100%. So, and that war should have ended a long time ago. And they're controlling what Ukraine can do with the weapons we're giving them, which is why that war is being prolonged. That could have ended a lot sooner had we just given them the weapons and said, here, do whatever the fuck you want with it. It would have ended a lot sooner, in my opinion. But they limited what Zelensky can do. And, I mean, what's Zelensky gonna do? He's gonna get the weapons and do what the United States said don't do, which was go into Russia. And then what? The U.S. isn't going to supply him with any more weapons. So he had to kind of follow their lead. So it's like the left is insane. They are illogical. They're not policy driven. They are feeling driven. It's insane. I never thought that things would be the way they are now. And I am so glad I do not have children in this world, because the public school system is so terrible in what they're teaching. Those people are for equity, not equality. They are teaching terrible things in these schools. The stuff that's being said in these schools by these lefties now, I mean, a decade ago or even more, like 2 decades ago when I was in school, school still, had that stuff been taught then, those teachers would be going to fucking jail. I mean, simple as that. Teaching 5-year-olds about sex and masturbating and all this stuff. It's like, what is happening? The left hardcore is for abortions up to the point of birth and even after, keeping the baby comfortable till it dies. The left is nuts. And the Democrat candidates that are like those crazy people must be fine and be okay with, like, their decisions, not have to think twice about what they're going to do because they think like these idiots. But the Democrat candidates that are quote unquote normal or blue dog Democrats or moderate Democrats, which there are so very few of, they really have to think twice about what they do. And a Democrat for president who's trying to get independents and maybe even defectors of the GOP really have to be so fucking cautious so that their base doesn't cry. Has to be just emotionally draining. This is Are You Ready For It? Take care, guys. Have a great day.